Welcome to the Bare Metals Cyber Security Plus podcast. This series helps you prepare for the CompTIA Security Plus exam with focused explanations and practical context. For a companion study guide, check out the Achieve CompTIA Security Plus 701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. It is the most concise and complete Security Plus guide on the market, built for busy professionals who want to pass the exam fast and on their first try. You can find this book and others at cyberauthor.me. Every asset eventually reaches the end of its useful life. Maybe a server becomes obsolete, a mobile phone is replaced, or a storage device fails. But just because an asset is no longer needed does not mean it is no longer dangerous. If sensitive data remains on a discarded device, or if the device itself is not properly decommissioned, it can create serious security and compliance risks. That is why secure asset disposal is such a critical part of any cybersecurity strategy. In this episode, we cover sanitization techniques, physical destruction methods, and the importance of documenting secure disposal for auditing and compliance purposes. We begin with sanitization techniques. Sanitization is the process of securely erasing data from a device so that it cannot be recovered. This is essential for any device that has stored sensitive information, such as hard drives, solid-state drives, USB sticks, memory cards, and even printers or network equipment with internal storage. Simply deleting files or formatting a disk does not remove the data. In most cases, it can still be recovered using basic forensic tools. One widely used method of sanitization is disk wiping. Disk wiping involves overwriting the storage media with new data, often multiple times, to ensure that the original data is unrecoverable. Tools are available that perform these overwrites following government or industry standards. Some methods write all zeros, others use random data, and some follow specific overwrite patterns. The number of passes depends on the sensitivity of the data and the organization's policy. While modern drives are more resistant to data remnants than older ones, overwriting remains a valid and effective strategy when done correctly. Another method is degaussing. Degaussing uses a strong magnetic field to disrupt the magnetic patterns on a drive, rendering the data unreadable. This method is typically used for magnetic storage devices such as traditional hard drives or backup tapes. It is fast and thorough, but it also destroys the drive itself. Once degaussed, the device cannot be reused. For this reason, degaussing is often reserved for situations where data sensitivity is extremely high and reuse is not a concern. A third option is cryptographic erasure. This is especially useful for solid-state drives and devices that use full-disk encryption. Instead of wiping the entire drive, the encryption keys are securely deleted, making the data permanently inaccessible. This method is fast, effective, and energy efficient. However, it relies on the encryption being properly implemented in the first place. If the data was not encrypted to begin with, cryptographic erasure does not provide any protection. Let's look at a real-world example. A hospital retires a group of laptops that were used to access patient records. The IT team removes the drives and uses a commercial disk wiping tool that performs 3 overwrite passes, logging each step. When an auditor later asks how the hospital handled sensitive data during equipment replacement, the IT team can produce logs showing that all drives were properly sanitized before disposal. This kind of planning protects both the organization and its patients from data exposure. Now let's talk about asset destruction. In some cases, data sanitization is not enough or not possible. Maybe the device is damaged, uncooperative, or simply too risky to reuse. That is where physical destruction comes into play. Asset destruction involves physically damaging the device so that the data cannot be retrieved. This is often the final step in decommissioning highly sensitive assets. One of the most common methods is shredding. Shredders designed for electronic media can grind hard drives, solid-state drives, CDs, and other storage devices into small, unrecognizable fragments. These fragments are far too small to be reconstructed or analyzed. Shredding is quick, scalable, and suitable for large volumes of equipment. Many organizations use certified destruction services that transport the devices to a secure location, shred them under supervision, and return a certificate of destruction. Another effective method is crushing. This uses specialized hydraulic equipment to pierce or flatten a storage device, damaging the platters or chips inside. Crushing can be done on-site and is a good option for organizations that want to observe the process directly. It is especially useful for laptops, mobile phones, and external storage units. In some cases, devices are destroyed with multiple techniques, for example, degaussing followed by crushing, to provide extra assurance that the data is irretrievable. Incineration is another physical destruction method, though it is less common due to environmental regulations and safety concerns. It involves burning the device in a controlled, high-temperature environment until the storage components are completely destroyed. This method may be used by government agencies, military organizations, or highly regulated industries where nothing short of total annihilation is acceptable. Let's consider a scenario where destruction is critical. A financial services firm is relocating its data center and has several old servers that cannot be reused. Each server contains transaction records, account numbers, and encryption keys. Rather than wipe the drives, the company contracts a certified destruction provider to perform on-site shredding. Employees witness the process, and the provider supplies a detailed destruction report, including serial numbers and timestamps. This ensures that there is no question about the fate of the data and that compliance requirements are met. This brings us to the final topic: certification of disposal. Sanitization and destruction are only part of the equation. To close the loop, organizations must document what was done, when it was done, and how it was verified. Certification of disposal provides an official record that an asset was securely decommissioned. This record may be required for legal compliance, regulatory audits, or internal accountability. A typical certificate of disposal includes the asset's serial number, type of device, method of disposal, date of the action, and the name of the person or service provider who performed the work. It may also include a description of the sanitization or destruction process, references to relevant policies or standards, and signatures from witnesses or approvers. When destruction is performed by a third party, the certificate should come from a trusted provider and include verification of chain of custody. Why is this important? For one, compliance frameworks like the General Data Protection Regulation, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, and the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard all include requirements for secure disposal of sensitive data. Being able to prove that disposal occurred properly can mean the difference between passing an audit and facing fines. It also helps in civil or criminal investigations where organizations may be asked to demonstrate how they protected or disposed of certain records. Even in smaller environments, certificates of disposal help reduce risk. If a user returns a broken laptop, the IT department can document the destruction process and tie it to the asset inventory. If a device goes missing or is returned incomplete, the certificate can serve as a control measure. Over time, these records build a chain of trust that supports security, privacy, and operational excellence. To summarize, secure asset disposal and decommissioning is about more than just getting rid of old equipment. It requires careful planning, appropriate techniques, and solid documentation. Sanitization methods like disk wiping, degaussing, and cryptographic erasure ensure that data is unrecoverable. Physical destruction methods like shredding, crushing, and incineration provide final assurance for especially sensitive devices. Certification of disposal creates an audit trail that supports compliance and accountability. Together, these practices protect organizations from data leaks, legal penalties, and reputational harm. As you prepare for the Security Plus exam, be ready to answer questions about disposal methods, their appropriate use cases, and the reasons documentation matters. Know the differences between wiping, degaussing, and destroying, and when each is preferred. Understand how asset disposal ties into compliance frameworks and why certification is essential for audits. Expect scenario questions involving improperly discarded devices or incomplete documentation, and be able to recommend the correct response. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cybersecurity Plus podcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com. And before you take the test, make sure to check out the practice questions in the book Achieve CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. They cover every domain and are a powerful way to lock in your knowledge.